The ship lurched forward, then upward, throwing some of the ladies off their feet. The force of the sudden maneuver, followed by Marcus's sudden psychotic laughter, filled the cabin as the ship started to climb. "Okay, let's see then," Marcus yelled to himself. The ship climbed recklessly, the armor plating getting a bit scuffed as the heat shield began to take the strain. 22 minutes later, the harrowing flight concluded. "Ladies and germs, I hereby welcome you to a place known as high orbit. Please take a look at the starboard side, and you will realize that high orbit does in fact mean space," Marcus yelled over the ship speakers. The shock of Marcus's sudden aggression was replaced by a state of absolute awestruck amazement. For the first time, Saranai was seen from space by a local. A mixture of emotions ran through the group, from the highest to the lowest. The beautiful emerald green forests contrast in a work of pure art with the sparkling blue oceans and gray cliffs. Sarah spots her home village from behind the clouds. Jacqueline can see the mountain, spots of gray and black indicating a developing storm. Ariana could see the canyon that was her home. Tamara's eyes sparkled as she saw the sparkling blue spikes of magical ice that was the Snow Kingdoms. Take it in, people. Take it all in. Look at it. That's your home. Take it all in. All of it, Marcus said, emphasizing his words. Now look at this, Marcus said, and swung the ship to the side. The elves were given a perfect view of the starlit skies, the twin moons close up. Every pockmarked crater and scar from meteorites in perfect, clear-as-day view, all with the backdrop of a staggeringly massive number of stars. It was nothing short of magnificent. But Marcus had a motive for this, and he approached Leliana the Magister. "All right, here we are in space. No gravity well. Do magic. Let's see if it works in space," Marcus said. She looked at him blankly for a minute. "Wow, okay, straight to it. Magio. Wait, I know one I can use, let me—" She scrounged around in her pouch and produced a scroll. She aimed it at Marcus and silently cast the spell engraved on it. Nothing happened. Nothing. Not even the scroll disintegrating as it should. Nothing. She tried again. Still nothing. What?" she said. "Ha! I knew it! Magic doesn't work in space!" Marcus said, laughing to himself as he returned to his seat and began re-entry procedures. The group once again tumbled to the floor from the rough ride, and Marcus continued to psychotically laugh to himself as he flew his ship. As soon as they were back in the planet's atmosphere, Marcus went silent. Marcus? Are you okay?" Saris asked as she picked herself up off the floor. "Marcus is unavailable for a bit," Arcturus said. "He's gone into something of a psychotic episode. He's entered into a VR simulation for a while to try to relax." "What the—" "Why?" Valencia asked as she fluffed her dress, clearly unamused. The entire string of events from Saris's first meeting in that clearing up to now has taken place in less than 17 hours. The stress of the situation has finally made him snap. From the initial stress of potential legal ramifications, right to having so many royalty in one place, and therefore, the responsibility of their safety. To top it all off, he recognizes the other human ship that has entered the system and has had to essentially end his retirement as a result of this entire situation. He is a bit. Marcus, despite being in a simulation, suddenly bursts into a short bout of psychotic laughter, twitching in his chair. He is a bit unhinged right now. He'll be fine in a few hours, he just needs to blow off some steam. Frankly, I think he needs it. We are returning to base and will be there in a few hours. I would suggest returning to your cabins. Marcus needs to be left alone for a bit, Arcturus explained, opening the cabin door. The group of women walked out to the sound of Marcus growling like a demon as he relaxed in his simulation. Arcturus resumed flying the ship effortlessly. Sarah stopped just outside the arboretum door and looked at a camera lens mounted on the wall. "Arcturus," she asked weakly. "Yes? Are you able to handle the ship by yourself? If you can, why does Marcus fly?" she asked. A good question. Marcus handles the majority of primary operations because he insists as such. The human element to operation allows for some interesting problem-solving. Creativity and insanity go hand in hand after all. Marcus's primary reason for handling the majority of operations himself is I don't want to be lazy and have a machine do it all for me. I'd rather do my part and pull my weight. At least as far as I am aware. We may be connected mentally, but like me, he has allowed his secrets, and I trust him not to pry into mine, Arcturus replied. Oh, well, do you have any idea why he's so aggressive towards us? Saris asked as she sat down at the large bonsai. I won't say. It's better he tells you, but whether that happens or not is entirely subjective to the coming days. Corsairs have a very, very intricate culture. It's easy to explain, but it isn't the time or place. Please try to relax, Arcturus said with a happy tone in his voice. Saris went to the arboretum with more questions that she started with. Stripping to nothing, then sat on a pillow in front of the large tree dominating the room and began to commune with it. Arcturus was watching, checking the energy readings in order to try to understand magic in some way, as Saris caused the tree to grow slightly taller and start blooming small white flowers. Fascinating. Arcturus idly quizzed as Saris did her thing. Pardon? Humans have all but perfected the art of terraforming. Entire planets can be turned from empty, atmosphereless, barren wastes into primal forests in a matter of a decade. I have seen growth acceleration before, but not quite like this, he said. Huh, they do that? They change whole worlds? Saris's concentration broke, causing the magic to dissipate. Arcturus deployed a holoscreen for her, showing her a time-lapse of a colony planet undergoing terraforming procedures. The planet started as a gray, empty planet of broken dust and nothing to speak of save asteroid impact craters. A massive fleet of thousands of ships of very strange design began to swarm the world. Asteroids in the local belt began vanishing, some of which deliberately impacted the surface in a spectacular show of explosions of ice. Massive drills dug holes directly into the core, detonating, making the planet's dormant volcanoes suddenly awaken and sending explosions of volcanic ash and toxic fumes into the air. The field held and created an artificial shield around the planet, sealing the gases within the planet's gravity well for a time. Within a short while, these shields dissipated as the planet's magnetic field came back to life. More work carried on as the planet's atmosphere stabilized and various tree seeds, moss seeds, and lichen was planted, allowing it to proliferate and grow using massive walkers that trundled along the surface. Saris beamed with excitement of every kind as she watched trees the size of skyscrapers grow in a matter of days from naught but seeds and barren sand. Massive, strangely shaped ships arrived, opening their cargo bays and depositing all manner of life onto the planet, from deer and rats to trout and salmon, birds, bees, and everything in between. By the end of it, an entire world had appeared, from a broken, desolate corpse to a vibrant, beautiful paradise. This took 10 years? She cried out from her pillow. Affirmative. 10 long, painful, micromanagement-filled years of hard but fruitful work. This is the kind of thing people like Marcus do. When we do encounter a planet with already existing life, we take saplings, seedlings, and any wildlife we can find, clone samples, take saplings, and the chain continues to grow, ever stronger, ever faster. Marcus's original mission was to create a factory that could manufacture the drones needed to expand terraforming operations for a company out in the Rim. An order he has had to abandon, Arcturus said, displaying various pictures of the giant spider crab robot things. See, can you cultivate and grow any plant? Saris asked. Within calculable reasons, of course, but any plant we have needs to be trained first. We can go up to a random bush, point a laser, and make it a bigger bush. The process is a lot more involved and very complex. It's why it takes us 10 years instead of 10 hours like it once did. The entire process is based around the belief we should let nature thrive on her own terms, but give her a little boost to make it easier for everyone, Arcturus said. 10 hours? She exclaimed. You can do that at 10 hours? Well, yes, but it's very messy, Arcturus replied with a mechanical chuckle. Saris took a squeaky breath, then fainted. To 10 hours. Oh dear. I think I shouldn't have done that, Arcturus said, seeming rather shifty-eyed, and popped himself in another room to talk with the occupants. The rest of the elves on board the ship began to look for things to do, coming across the archives room. First, Valerian, finding and getting lost in a World War I history book. Then Taurus getting his hands on a book for plumbers. The guardsmen found various texts involving Caesar, Sun Tzu, Plato, and many others. The ladies began to look through the VR suites and watch movies, videos, or other things, traumatizing poor Jacqueline with a documentary on the Battle of Stalingrad. With Arcturus concentrating on the ship's operations, and Marcus effectively out of action due to psychosis, the elves began to learn a lot more about human history than generally intended. After 2 hours of flight time, increased due to the detour, the elves knew more about their new human friends than really anyone wanted to know. The kings deep in thought as to just how completely bugger-fucked they were if humanity decided to turn against them, or worse. King Edward quietly sat in his seat as the scope of the factory and the stupidly huge scale of Marcus's flagship became clearer as they approached the ship's main hangar. "Arcturus, may I ask you something?" he asked, the tone of his voice sounding more than a little distressed. "Affirmative." "Your query?" his robotic voice said. "Is it possible, if at all, for us to simply outright surrender to your alliance?" Edward asked, drawing the immediate and frantic attention of his guardsmen. Any proposal of surrender to the Federation at this point would be impossible. It would simply be rejected. The star system would be quarantined and all contact cut until you either face extinction or simply make it off-world yourselves. So, no, not really. "But why would you want to?" Arcturus replied sternly. "I have read some things about humanity and its history of a certain questionable practice. I can't deal with it alone as its roots dig too deep. Is there any way I can requisition you for the use of war machines or military assets? I need to make some changes and I will not be unopposed," Edward said. The faces of the paladins guarding him brightened up in response. "No, never, not at all. Absolutely, unequivocally, totally not." "Why?" Arcturus replied with absolute authority in his voice. "I wish to preemptively strike. The slave trade in the kingdom is becoming rampant despite the fact it is already outlawed. I wish to... All units are to enter operations reconfiguration protocols immediately. Directive emancipation," Arcturus said, cutting the king off. Alarms suddenly sounded through the entire factory, and the drone swarm descended on an empty area of the factory floor like a swarm of angry wasps. Within seconds, resources were being pumped through a series of assembly machines and war factories. Minutes after this declaration, the first battle droids, warbots, and automated tank platoons were rolling off the assembly lines. By the time Edward had bothered to pick his jaw off the floor, 2,000 battle-ready droids were in assembly, with 30,000 more on the way. Operation completion time, 25 minutes 17 seconds. Unit deployment on hold until orders. The Alliance Assembly has been informed. By unanimous vote of 283 to 0, operation is approved to proceed. Carryalls and troop transports are ready to deploy. Your Majesty, your new temporary army is ready for deployment. I need you to come to the AI Core, Arcturus said. Well, why is that? He asked meekly. I need information on who I need to kill. You know what's going on and who I need to talk to. If you don't mind, I need to borrow your brain. Arcturus replied with a certain quality of malice in his voice. Pardon? Calm down, Arcturus. Marcus's voice suddenly boomed. Let me handle this. Save your bloodlust for later, okay? Yes, sir. Oops, Arcturus said and slunk back into the shadows. Borrow my brain? Edward exclaimed, terrified. Relax. It's a figure of speech. What Arcturus wanted to do was plug you into the network, the same way I do, and poke your mind for contacts, suspects, and laws. I will hold back his wrath until we have enough intel to do this properly, Marcus said. Are all of your machines this terrifying? Edward said as he slumped into his chair. Only when it comes to certain precepts and ideals, slavery chief among them. Again, read the tablet I gave you. Has a basic idea of what really pisses us off, and how long you have to live if you do, Marcus said as the ship thunked as clamps secured it inside the hangar. All right, everyone, welcome to your humble home for the next 2 weeks. Your quarters have been prepared, and I have instructed Ark to set up a communications line so you can rule your kingdoms from here for that duration. I will teach you how to use this tech to smooth the transition and help along in any way I can. On behalf of the Terran Alliance, the Sol Federation, and the Confederacy of Independent Sentients, welcome aboard.